The fluorescent lights of the convenience store buzzed overhead like dying insects, casting a sickly yellow glow over the rows of overpriced diapers and formula cans that might as well have been made of gold. I stood there, phone trembling in my hand, staring at the price tags through tears that made the numbers blur and multiply. $18, $22, $26 for the organic kind that Emma's pediatrician said would help with her reflux. I had $43 in my checking account. Rent was 3 days late. The electricity bill sat unopened on the kitchen counter because I was too afraid to see the disconnect notice I knew was coming. My daughter's hungry cry echoed in my memory, the sound she'd made 2 hours ago before finally exhausting herself into sleep. She was only 4 months old, and already I was failing her, already proving everyone right. My mother who'd warned me about Travis, my sister who'd stopped answering my calls after I made my bed, the social worker who'd looked at me with those pitying eyes during the home visit last week. I grabbed the cheapest formula, the store brand in the dented container, and clutched it against my chest like it might disappear. My fingers fumbled with my phone, pulling up my messages. I needed to ask my friend Jessica if she could spot me $20 until Friday when my shift pay came through. Just $20. Just enough to keep my baby fed for 3 more days. The phone screen swam in my vision as I typed frantically, my thumb slipping on the glass. Hey, I'm so sorry to ask, but I'm desperate. Emma is out of formula and I'm short $20. Can you help? I'll pay you back Friday, I promise. Please. I hit send before I could second-guess myself, before shame could stop me from begging. Again, the cold night air hit me like a slap when I pushed through the store's doors, the November wind carrying the scent of coming snow and car exhaust. Chicago winters were brutal, and this one was starting early. I pulled my thin jacket tighter, the zipper broken since last year, and started the 6-block walk back to my apartment. The streetlights flickered in the darkness, and I kept my head down, clutching the formula can like a lifeline. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Thank God. Jessica was fast. I pulled it out, expecting her usual warm response, maybe even a, "Don't worry about paying me back." But the message that appeared made my heart stutter. Wrong number. But $20 isn't enough for baby formula. Send me your address. My breath caught. The number wasn't Jessica's. In my panic, my exhausted, desperate state, I'd mistyped. One wrong digit. I'd sent my humiliating plea to a complete stranger. Heat flooded my face even in the freezing air. I stopped walking, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. I should apologize, explain it was a mistake, delete the conversation and die of embarrassment in private. But $20. Emma's cry. The empty cabinet at home. I'm so sorry. Wrong number. Please ignore that. The response came immediately. I said, send me your address. What else does the baby need? I stared at the screen, my pulse hammering in my throat. This was insane. Dangerous. Every true crime podcast I'd ever listened to while feeding Emma at 3 a.m. screamed at me to block the number and run. But there was something about the message, the command in it, the certainty. Not a question. A demand. My fingers moved before my brain could stop them. I can't accept money from a stranger. Thank you, though. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. You just asked a stranger for money. I'm offering. Address. Now. The wind picked up, cutting through my jacket, reminding me that Emma was home with Mrs. Chen from 4B, who could only watch her for 2 hours max because of her own grandchildren. Reminding me that pride was a luxury I couldn't afford. I typed my address, sent it, then immediately regretted it and typed again. You really don't have to do this. I know. Stay inside. Someone will bring it. Someone will bring it. Not I'll bring it. Someone. I should have felt relief. Instead, a cold dread settled in my stomach, mixing with the desperate hope I couldn't quite extinguish. I walked faster, my breath creating small clouds in the freezing air, my sneakers slapping against the cracked sidewalk. The apartment building loomed ahead, a decrepit 5-story brick structure that had probably been considered modern in the 1970s. Now it sagged like everything else in this neighborhood, tired and forgotten. I climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, my legs burning, and knocked softly on Mrs. Chen's door. She opened it immediately, her weathered face creased with concern. She just went back to sleep, poor little dumpling. So fussy tonight. Thank you so much, Mrs. Chen. I'm sorry I took so long. Don't apologize, child. She pressed Emma into my arms, and I breathed in my daughter's scent. Baby soap and something sweet and vulnerable that made my chest ache. You work too hard. That man of yours should be... He's not mine anymore, I said quietly. But thank you. Really. Back in my apartment, I laid Emma in her second-hand crib, watching her tiny chest rise and fall. The formula can sat on the counter, mocking me. 1 can. Maybe 3 days if I stretched it. Then what? My phone buzzed. 10 minutes. I looked down at my stained t-shirt, my unwashed hair pulled into a messy bun, my bare feet on the cold linoleum. Should I change? Clean up? This was ridiculous. Someone was just dropping off money. Probably some bored rich person doing their good deed for the day, easing their conscience. But 10 minutes later, when the knock came at my door, soft but commanding, I knew I'd been wrong. I checked the peephole and saw nothing. Too tall. Whoever it was stood just out of view. Every instinct screamed at me not to open it. But I thought of Emma, of the empty formula can, of the electricity bill, and the rent notice, and the endless, crushing weight of trying to survive. I opened the door. The hallway's dim light seemed to bend around him. That was my first thought, not about his face or his clothes, but about the way shadows clung to him like he owned them. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black coat that probably cost more than my yearly rent. Behind him stood 2 other men, silent as statues, their eyes constantly scanning the hallway, the stairs, every exit, but it was him I couldn't look away from. Young, maybe early 30s, dark hair styled perfectly despite the late hour, a face that belonged in magazines, all sharp angles and calculated beauty, but his eyes were what made my breath catch. Dark, intense, ancient despite his youth, eyes that had seen things, done things, understood things that people like me couldn't imagine. He looked at me, and I felt naked, exposed. Every failure, every fear, every desperate moment of my life laid bare under that gaze. You're the one who asked for baby formula. It wasn't a question. His voice was quiet, controlled, with an accent I couldn't quite place, educated, expensive, dangerous. Yes, but it was a mistake. Wrong number. You didn't have to. He lifted one hand slightly, and I fell silent. The gesture wasn't threatening, but the power in it was absolute. One of the men behind him stepped forward, holding not a $20 bill, but several shopping bags from a high-end baby boutique I'd walked past 100 times but never entered. Formula, diapers, clothes, blankets. He spoke like he was reading a list in a business meeting. What else? My hands shook as I stared at the bags. I can't accept this. This is too much. I just needed... You needed help. He took one step closer, and I caught his scent. Expensive cologne mixed with something darker, smoky, like whiskey and wood smoke. You have a child. You're alone. You sent a message to a stranger begging for $20. Each word was measured, precise. That tells me you're desperate. That tells me you have no one else. So I'm asking again. What else do you need? Tears burned my eyes. Why are you doing this? Something flickered across his face. Too quick to read, too complex to understand. Because someone should. The silence stretched between us. Thick with tension I didn't understand. Behind him, one of the men's phones buzzed quietly. A glance was exchanged. Time was running out. Whoever this man was, he didn't stand in shabby apartment hallways making small talk. Take the bags, he said softly. Feed your daughter. There's a number in the top bag. You need anything. Anything at all. You use it. I don't even know your name. His lips curved slightly. Not quite a smile, but close. You don't need to. He turned to leave, his men moving in perfect synchronization, and panic fluttered in my chest. This was insane. This was dangerous. This was wrong on every level. Wait, I heard myself say. He paused, looking back over his shoulder. Thank you, I whispered. Really? Thank you. Those dark eyes held mine for one more moment, and I saw something in them that made my pulse race. Not threat, exactly, but promise. Warning. Possession. "Lock your door," he said quietly. "This neighborhood isn't safe." Then he was gone, disappearing down the stairs with his silent shadows, leaving me standing in my doorway holding bags full of things I desperately needed from a man I didn't know. A man who'd somehow made me feel more seen, more understood, more terrified than I'd felt in months. I brought the bags inside with shaking hands, locking the door like he'd commanded. Inside the top bag, nestled among organic formula cans and soft cotton onesies, was a business card. No name, just a phone number embossed in black on heavy cardstock, and underneath it, 5 crisp $100 bills. Emma stirred in her crib, making the small sounds that meant she'd wake soon, hungry again. I stared at the money, at the formula, at the number on the card. I'd texted a wrong number, and something told me my life would never be the same. I didn't sleep that night. Emma woke every 2 hours like clockwork, her small fists waving in the air, her rosebud mouth searching for comfort I could finally provide. The new formula mixed smoothly, no clumps like the cheap brand, and she drank it down without the usual fussing, without the spit-up that usually followed. She even smiled at me, that gummy, toothless smile that made every exhausted moment worth it. But while I fed her in the darkness, the business card sat on my kitchen counter like a loaded gun. I told myself I'd throw it away, that accepting the formula and diapers was one thing, a moment of desperate charity I could rationalize. But keeping his number crossed a line I shouldn't approach. I didn't know who he was. The expensive clothes, the silent guards, the way he commanded space like he owned it. None of that suggested someone I should be tangled with. Yet when morning light filtered through my thin curtains, the card was still there. And so was the money. $500. More money than I'd seen in one place since before Emma was born. Since Travis had drained our joint account and disappeared into whatever hole men like him crawled into when responsibility came knocking. I used it. God help me, I used it. The electricity bill got paid. The rent got paid. All of it, including late fees. I bought groceries. Real groceries, not just ramen and whatever was on sale. I got Emma the vapor rub her pediatrician recommended for her congestion. I even bought myself a new jacket from the thrift store, one with a working zipper. For 3 days, I breathed easier than I had in months. Then my phone rang with an unknown number, and my fragile peace shattered. "Hello?" My voice came out uncertain, small. "The formula I sent. She's doing better with it?" That voice, quiet, controlled, unmistakable. It sent a shiver down my spine that wasn't entirely from fear. I should have asked how he got my number. I should have been outraged at the invasion of privacy. Instead, I found myself answering honestly, "Yes, she's doing much better. Thank you." "Good." A pause. "You used the money." It wasn't a question. Had he been watching? Somehow he knew. The thought should have terrified me. It did terrify me, but underneath the fear was something else. Something I didn't want to examine too closely. "I needed to pay my bills. I'll pay you back. I just need time. I don't want it back." His tone left no room for argument. "I want you to stop working at that restaurant." My breath caught. "How did you know where I work?" Silence. Then softer. "It's not safe. The owner has connections. Bad connections. You don't want to be there when those connections come collecting. I need that job. It's the only thing I have that works around Emma's schedule. I'll send someone tomorrow. They'll bring more formula, diapers, whatever you need. You focus on your daughter." "No." The word burst out before I could stop it. "No, I can't be some charity case. I can't depend on a stranger." "You already did." His voice dropped lower, intimate almost. "You texted me. You sent me your address. You took my help. We're past strangers now, aren't we?" My hand tightened on the phone. "I don't even know your name." "Dante." The name rolled off his tongue like a promise and a threat. "And I know yours, Lily. I know you're 23 years old. I know your daughter's father disappeared 7 months ago, with $12,000 he stole from people who don't forgive debts. I know you're working 60-hour weeks trying to survive in a neighborhood where women like you disappear. I know everything." The room tilted. Travis stole money? From who? From people I do business with. Each word was careful, measured. People who don't care that he has a child. People who might decide that his responsibilities become someone else's problem. Ice flooded my veins. Are you threatening me? I'm protecting you. The distinction in his voice was absolute. Travis made enemies, dangerous enemies, enemies who've been asking questions about where he went, about what he left behind. Emma and I have nothing to do with his mistakes. They don't care. Something shifted in his tone, harder now, colder, but I do. So you're going to let me help you. You're going to quit that restaurant. You're going to stay somewhere safe until this is resolved. I can't just uproot my life because some stranger tells me to. Lily. The way he said my name made my heart stutter. 2 men came to your restaurant 3 nights ago. They asked your manager about you, asked if you had a baby, asked where you lived. My blood turned to ice. What? Your manager didn't tell them, but they'll be back. And next time, they might be more persuasive. Emma cooed from her crib, oblivious to the nightmare unfolding around us. I pressed my palm against the counter to steady myself. Why do you care? Why are you doing this? The silence stretched so long I thought he'd hung up. Then, because I can, and because no child should pay for their father's sins. What do you want from me? Trust. The single word hung in the air between us. Let me keep you safe, both of you. And if I say no, then you're on your own, and those men will come back. A pause. Your choice. It wasn't a choice, not really. But the illusion of one made it easier to swallow. What do I have to do? Pack a bag. Enough for a week. Someone will pick you up in 2 hours. Where am I going? Somewhere they won't find you. His voice softened slightly. Somewhere Emma can sleep without you worrying about every sound in the hallway. Tears burned my eyes. I don't understand why you're doing this. You don't need to understand. You just need to trust me. The line went dead. I stood in my tiny kitchen, phone pressed to my ear, listening to the silence. Emma babbled happily, reaching for the mobile above her crib. A cheap plastic thing from the dollar store that played tinny lullabies. Soon, I'd have to make a decision that would change everything. But Travis had stolen from dangerous people. Men were looking for me, for Emma. And a stranger named Dante was offering protection I couldn't afford to refuse. I packed our bags with shaking hands. 2 hours later, a black SUV pulled up in front of my building. Not a regular car, something sleek and expensive with windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. A man emerged from the driver's side, tall and broad, with a professional demeanor that screamed security. He wore a dark suit and an earpiece, his eyes constantly scanning the street. Miss Lily? His voice was respectful, but firm. I'm Marcus. Mr. Dante sent me. Mr. Dante. The formality of it made my stomach flip. I need to get my daughter. I'll help with your bags. He moved past me with efficient grace, already climbing the stairs. Mr. Dante was very clear about the timeline. We need to leave quickly. My hands trembled as I gathered Emma from her crib, wrapping her in the new blanket from Dante's bags. She gurgled happily, grabbing at my hair, completely unaware that our lives were being uprooted. Mrs. Chen appeared in her doorway as we descended, her eyes sharp with concern. Lily? What's happening? I'm going to stay with a friend for a bit. Just a week or so. Her gaze traveled to Marcus, to the expensive SUV idling below, to my hastily packed bags. Understanding flickered across her weathered face. The understanding of a woman who'd lived long enough to recognize when someone was running. Or being taken. You be careful, child, she whispered. Men with cars like that. They don't do favors for free. I wanted to reassure her. Tell her this was different, that Dante was helping, that I knew what I was doing. But the words died in my throat because I didn't know. I was walking into the unknown with a man I'd met once, whose last name I didn't know, whose business I could only guess at. Marcus loaded our bags into the trunk with practiced efficiency. The interior of the SUV was luxury incarnate. Leather seats, climate control, a partition between the front and back that offered privacy I wasn't sure I wanted. A car seat was already installed, top of the line, the kind I'd stared at in stores knowing I'd never afford it. Mr. Dante made sure everything was ready for the baby, Marcus said, noticing my expression. He's very thorough. I secured Emma into the seat, her small body dwarfed by the expensive safety features. She looked around with wide eyes, fascinated by the new environment. I buckled myself in beside her, and Marcus closed the door with a solid thunk that sounded like finality, like a cell door locking. The SUV pulled away from the curb, and I watched my building disappear in the side mirror. Everything I knew, everything familiar, vanishing behind tinted glass. "Where are we going?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Marcus's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. "Somewhere safe, miss. That's all I can say." The drive took 40 minutes, winding through Chicago's streets, until the shabby buildings gave way to tree-lined avenues and historic mansions, old money territory, the kind of neighborhood I'd only seen in movies. The SUV turned through iron gates that opened automatically, rolling up a circular driveway to a house that made my apartment building look like a cardboard box. 3 stories of red brick and limestone, with tall windows that glowed warmly against the late afternoon shadows. Manicured gardens stretched on either side, dormant for winter but clearly maintained with obsessive care. Other vehicles sat in the circular drive. More black SUVs, a sleek sports car that probably cost more than I'd make in a lifetime. And standing on the front steps, hands in the pockets of his perfectly tailored black suit, was Dante. He watched the SUV approach with that same intense gaze I remembered, and even from a distance, I felt its weight. Marcus opened my door, and the cold November air rushed in, carrying the scent of expensive greenery and privilege. "Welcome," Dante said as I climbed out, Emma cradled against my chest. His eyes moved from me to my daughter, and something flickered across his face. Something almost gentle. "Let's get her inside. It's too cold out here." He turned and walked through the massive front door. And I followed because what else could I do? My feet carried me across the threshold into a world I didn't belong in. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, artwork that probably cost more than my life insurance policy. A woman appeared from a side hallway, middle-aged and kind-faced, wearing sensible clothes and a warm smile. "You must be Lily. I'm Teresa. I'll be helping with whatever you need during your stay." Stay. Like I was a guest, not someone running from threats I barely understood. "There's a nursery upstairs," Dante said, already moving toward a sweeping staircase. "Everything Emma needs is already there. Teresa made sure of it." I followed him up, my worn sneakers silent on the plush carpet runner. He led me down a hallway lined with closed doors until we reached a room that made my breath catch. It was a nursery from a magazine. Soft gray walls, white furniture, a crib that looked like something royalty would use, shelves stocked with toys, books, everything organized with careful precision. A rocking chair sat by the window, overlooking the gardens, a changing table equipped with every supply imaginable. "This is too much," I whispered. "This is necessary." Dante stood in the doorway, watching me with that unreadable expression. "Emma deserves somewhere safe, somewhere comfortable. But why? Why would you do all this for people you don't even know?" He stepped into the room, and suddenly the space felt smaller. His presence filled it, overwhelming and inescapable, because I could have been her, a child paying for a parent's mistakes. No one helped me. No one cared. His jaw tightened. "I won't let that happen to another innocent." The vulnerability in his words caught me off guard. For a moment, the powerful man in the expensive suit fell away, and I saw someone else underneath, someone who understood what it meant to be abandoned, to be collateral damage. "Your room is next door," he continued, his mask sliding back into place. "Get settled. Teresa will bring dinner up. Tomorrow we'll discuss the situation with Travis's debts." He moved toward the door, and I found myself speaking without thinking. "Dante?" He paused, looking back. "Thank you. I don't understand this, and I'm terrified, but thank you." Something dark and possessive flickered in his eyes. "You're under my protection now, Lily. That means no one touches you, no one threatens you, no one even looks at you wrong." He stepped closer, and I caught his scent again, that intoxicating mix of danger and expensive masculinity. "You're mine to protect. Remember that." Then he was gone, leaving me standing in a nursery that cost more than everything I'd ever owned, holding my daughter, wondering what I'd just agreed to, and why the word mine. had made my heart race instead of my blood run cold. The first night in Dante's house, I barely slept. Emma rested peacefully in her new crib, surrounded by luxury she'd never known, her breathing steady and soft through the baby monitor that sat on my nightstand. Top of the line, with video and sound so clear I could hear every tiny sigh. But I lay awake in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with questions I couldn't answer. The bed was too soft, the sheets were too smooth, everything smelled expensive and foreign, like I'd been dropped into someone else's life. Through the walls, I heard the house settling, footsteps in distant hallways, low voices speaking in tones too quiet to understand, the occasional sound of a car pulling up outside. This wasn't a home, it was a fortress, and I was either a prisoner or a guest, depending on how I chose to see it. Around 3 a.m, Emma woke hungry. I lifted her from the crib, her small body warm and familiar in this strange place, and settled into the rocking chair to feed her. The window overlooked the gardens, and in the moonlight, I could see a figure walking the perimeter. One of Dante's men, patrolling, watching, always watching. What had Travis done? What had he stolen that required this level of protection? And why did Dante care enough to provide it? Emma finished eating and dozed against my shoulder, milk drunk and content. I was about to carry her back to the crib when a soft knock came at the nursery door. My heart jumped. Yes? The door opened slowly, and Dante stood in the threshold, still dressed despite the hour. Dark slacks, white shirt with the sleeves rolled to his forearms, revealing tanned skin and the edge of a tattoo I hadn't noticed before. His hair was slightly disheveled, like he'd been running his hands through it. I saw the light, he said quietly. Everything all right? Just feeding her. I stood carefully, acutely aware that I wore only an oversized t-shirt and pajama pants, the nicest sleepwear I owned, but suddenly feeling inadequate under his gaze. She's fine now. He stepped into the room, and I caught that scent again. Smoke and expensive cologne, mixed now with something sharper. Whiskey, maybe. His eyes found Emma in my arms, and his expression softened in a way that made my chest tighten. She looks like you, he murmured. Same eyes, same stubborn chin. You can tell she's stubborn already. The corner of his mouth lifted. I recognized the trait. He moved closer, and my pulse quickened. May I? I blinked. May you what? Hold her. He said it like he was asking permission for something precious, something fragile. I'll be careful. Every instinct screamed that this was a bad idea. That letting this dangerous man, because he was dangerous no matter how gentle he seemed in this moment, hold my daughter would be crossing a line I couldn't uncross, but something in his expression stopped me. A longing. A tenderness that seemed at odds with everything else about him. I transferred Emma to his arms, showing him how to support her head, and watched as he cradled her against his chest with surprising gentleness. His large hands dwarfed her tiny body, but he held her like she was made of glass. Hello, Piccola, he whispered, his accent thickening slightly. Italian, I realized. You're safe now. I promise you that. Emma yawned, her small hand grasping at his shirt, and something in my chest cracked open. This man, this stranger who commanded fear and loyalty in equal measure, was looking at my daughter like she was the most important thing in the world. You're good with babies, I said softly. I had a sister. Past tense. The pain in his voice was subtle but unmistakable. She was small like this when I lost her. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago. He continued rocking Emma gently, his movements natural despite the expensive clothes and the dangerous aura. But I remember what it felt like to hold someone that innocent and know you'd do anything, to keep them safe. The weight of his words settled over us like a blanket. This wasn't just about Travis's debts. This was personal for him in ways I didn't understand. Dante, I started, then hesitated. What exactly did Travis steal? And from who? His jaw tightened. Money. A significant amount. From an organization I have connections with. The Mafia. I said it flatly, not a question. He didn't deny it. I prefer to think of it as a business. But yes, your ex-boyfriend stole from very dangerous people. People who don't forgive. People who make examples. And you? What are you to these people? His dark eyes met mine over Emma's sleeping head. I'm the one they answer to. The room seemed to shrink. The air grew thicker. I was standing in a nursery with a Mafia boss holding my baby daughter, and somehow this had become my reality. You should be terrified of me, he said quietly. Most people are. I am. My voice came out steady despite the trembling in my hands, but you've been nothing but kind to Emma and me. So I don't know what to feel. Feel safe. He carefully transferred Emma back to me, and I caught the whiskey on his breath, the heat radiating from his body. That's all I want from you. To feel safe. What do you want, Dante? Really? Because people like you don't do this. I gestured around the nursery, without wanting something in return. He studied me for a long moment, and I felt exposed under that gaze. Vulnerable. Seen in ways I hadn't been seen in years. I want to protect you, he said finally. Both of you. I want to make sure that what happened to my sister never happens to Emma. That she grows up safe, fed, loved. That she never knows what it's like to be abandoned or used as leverage. And me? What about me? He stepped closer, and my breath caught. You? His voice dropped lower, intimate. I want you to stop looking at me like I'm going to hurt you. I want you to sleep without nightmares. I want you to let someone take care of you for once instead of carrying everything alone. I barely know you. You know enough. His hand lifted, and I thought he might touch my face, but he stopped himself. You know I showed up when you needed help. You know I'm keeping you safe. You know that since the moment I saw you standing in that doorway, looking exhausted and desperate and so damn strong despite everything trying to break you, you've been mine to protect. I'm not yours. The words came out weaker than I intended. No? His lips curved slightly. Then why are you here? Why did you get in that car? Why are you letting me help you? Because I had no choice. Because I was terrified. Because something about him made me feel simultaneously safer and more at risk than I'd ever felt. I should go back to bed, I whispered, but I didn't move. Yes, you should. He didn't move either. But before you do, I need you to understand something, Lily. The people looking for you, they're not just debt collectors, they're enforcers. And they've been told to use whatever means necessary to find Travis. That includes you. That includes Emma. Ice flooded my veins. You mean they'd hurt her? They'd threaten to. His expression hardened. They'd use her to get to Travis, or to make an example if they can't find him. But that's not going to happen, because I won't allow it. How can you stop them? If they're part of the same organization? Because I run that organization. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. And what I say is law, but there are complications. People who don't agree with my methods. People who think I'm too soft, too willing to bend rules. They might try to circumvent my authority, which is why you need to stay here, where I can protect you properly. For how long? Until I find Travis, until this debt is settled, until I'm certain you're safe, and if Travis is never found... His eyes held mine with intensity that made my knees weak. Then you stay. Permanently. The implication settled over me like silk chains. Beautiful, comfortable, inescapable. He was offering safety, security, everything I'd been struggling to provide for Emma. But the cost was my freedom, my independence, my life outside his control. I need to think about this, I said, my voice barely audible. Think all you want. He moved toward the door, then paused. But while you're thinking, remember that out there. He gestured toward the window. You're vulnerable. Here, you're protected. Out there, Emma could be taken. Here, she's safe. The choice might seem difficult, but really, Lily, is there any choice at all? He left before I could answer, closing the door softly behind him. I stood in the nursery holding my sleeping daughter, my mind reeling. He was right. What choice did I have? Return to my shabby apartment and wait for dangerous men to find us? Try to run with a 4-month-old baby and no money? Or stay here, in this golden cage, under the protection of a man who looked at Emma like she was precious and at me like I was something he wanted to own? I placed Emma back in her crib and retreated to my room, but sleep never came. Morning arrived with weak November sunlight and the smell of coffee drifting up from somewhere below. I dressed in my nicest jeans and a clean sweater, trying not to feel self-conscious about how cheap everything I owned looked in this environment. Teresa knocked at 8, her kind face cheerful. "Good morning, dear. Breakfast is ready downstairs. I can watch Emma if you'd like to eat in peace." The thought of leaving Emma, even with this seemingly trustworthy woman, made my stomach clench. "I'll bring her with me." "Of course." Teresa's smile didn't falter. "Mr. Dante is in his office, but he asked that you join him after breakfast. Nothing to worry about," she added quickly, seeing my expression. "He just wants to discuss the security arrangements." I fed and changed Emma, then made my way downstairs, following the coffee smell to a dining room that could have seated 20. But only one place was set: fine china, silver cutlery, fresh flowers in a crystal vase. A covered plate sat waiting, and when I lifted the dome, the aroma of perfectly cooked eggs, bacon, and fresh bread made my mouth water. I ate with Emma balanced on my lap, hyper-aware of the cameras I'd noticed in corners, the windows that revealed more security personnel patrolling outside. This wasn't just a home, it was a compound. After breakfast, I followed Teresa's directions to Dante's office. The door was heavy wood, ornately carved, and stood slightly ajar. I knocked softly. "Come in." The office was all dark wood and leather, lined with bookshelves and dominated by a massive desk where Dante sat, looking every inch the powerful man he was. He'd traded last night's casual attire for a 3-piece suit that probably cost more than my car, when I'd had a car. His hair was perfectly styled, his jaw freshly shaved, and he looked dangerous and beautiful in equal measure. But his eyes softened when he saw Emma in my arms. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the leather chair across from his desk. "We need to talk about Travis." I sat, my heart hammering. "You found him?" "No, but I found what he stole." Dante opened a file on his desk, turning it so I could see. $12,000, like I said, but also information. Client lists, transaction records, things that could destroy people if they fell into the wrong hands. "I don't understand. Travis was just... He worked at a warehouse. He wasn't involved in anything. He was a courier." Dante's voice was patient but firm. "He transported money, documents, occasionally other items, and he got greedy, thought he could steal from us and disappear. He was wrong. Where is he now? If I knew that, we wouldn't be having this conversation." He leaned back in his chair, studying me. "But here's what concerns me, Lily. The people he stole from, they know he has a daughter. They know about you. And there's a faction within the organization that wants to use you as bait. Draw him out. Let them." The words burst out before I could stop them. "Let them use me as bait. Travis deserves whatever he gets for abandoning Emma." "No." The single word cracked like a whip. Dante stood, moving around the desk with predatory grace. "You're not bait. You're not leverage. You're not going to be used by anyone. Is that clear?" His vehemence stunned me, but if it helps find him, I don't care. He was close now, towering over me, and Emma stirred in my arms, sensing the tension. "I will not allow you to be put in danger. Not for Travis. Not for anyone." "Why?" I looked up at him, searching his face for answers. "Why do you care so much?" His jaw clenched. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, "Because when I look at you, I see every woman my family failed to protect. When I look at Emma, I see my sister. And I've spent 15 years building an empire, accumulating power, making myself into someone who can protect people. What's the point of all this?" He gestured around the office. "If I can't use it to keep innocent people safe? We're not your responsibility. You are now." He crouched down, bringing himself to eye level with me, and the intensity in his gaze made my breath catch. "The moment you sent that text, you became mine to protect. The moment I saw you in that hallway, exhausted and desperate but still fighting, something in me decided, you're mine, Lily. Both of you. And I protect what's mine." There was that word again. Mine. Possessive, absolute, terrifying, and thrilling in equal measure. "I'm not a possession," I whispered. "No. You're something far more valuable." His hand lifted, and this time he did touch my face, just his fingertips against my cheek, gentle despite the calluses I felt there. You're someone worth protecting, someone worth keeping safe, someone who deserves better than what life has given you." Emma cooed, her small hand reaching toward Dante, and he smiled. A real smile that transformed his face from dangerously beautiful to something almost boyish. "She likes you," I said softly. "Smart girl?" He straightened, the moment broken, but the tension still crackling between us. "I have a meeting this afternoon, business I can't avoid. But I want you to stay here, in the house. Don't go outside without Marcus or one of the other guards. Don't answer the door. Don't—" "I'm not a child. I understand security," his lips curved. "I know you're not a child, Lily. Believe me, I'm very aware of that." The heat in his voice made my face flush. "But humor me. Let me keep you safe. Do I have a choice?" "Yes." His answer surprised me. "You always have a choice. You can walk out that door right now. I won't stop you. But—" his expression hardened. "If you leave my protection, I can't guarantee your safety. Or Emma's." It was an illusion of choice. A pretty cage with an unlocked door, but monsters waiting outside. And we both knew it. "We'll stay," I said quietly. For now, he agreed. But something in his eyes said he expected it to be much longer than that. He walked me back to the nursery, his presence a constant warmth at my back. At the door, he paused. "Lily? One more thing." I turned to face him. "You're safe here. Completely safe. That means from everyone, including me." His voice dropped lower. "I want you to understand that. What I feel when I look at you, it's intense. It's possessive. But I will never touch you without your permission. You have my word." Before I could respond, he was gone, leaving me standing in the doorway with Emma, my mind spinning with questions and a strange, dangerous warmth spreading through my chest. I was trapped in a gilded cage with a Mafia boss who looked at me like I was something precious. And the most terrifying part was how much I was starting to like it. 3 days passed in Dante's house, and I learned what it meant to live in a world of contradictions. The luxury was suffocating. Too much space, too much silence, too many people watching my every move under the guise of protection. Yet Emma thrived. She smiled more, slept better, her little body filling out as the quality formula and constant care worked their magic. Teresa doted on her, teaching me things about childcare I'd been too exhausted to learn, and for the first time since her birth, I didn't feel like I was drowning, but Dante was everywhere and nowhere. I'd catch glimpses of him, emerging from his office with men in suits, their voices low and urgent. Standing by the window in the library at night, a glass of whiskey in his hand, staring out at nothing. Once, I'd gone downstairs for water at 2 a.m. and found him in the kitchen, shirt unbuttoned, exhaustion etched into every line of his face. He'd looked at me with such raw hunger that I'd fled back to my room, my heart racing. He kept his distance, honored his promise, but the air between us crackled with tension that grew thicker every day. On the 4th morning, everything changed. I was in the nursery, changing Emma's diaper and singing softly to her, when shouting erupted from somewhere below. Male voices, angry and overlapping, then a crash, something heavy hitting the floor. Emma startled, her face crumpling toward a cry, and I scooped her up instinctively, my pulse hammering. The door burst open. Marcus stood there, his professional demeanor cracked by urgency. "Miss Lily, I need you to come with me. Now." "What's happening?" "Now." He was already moving, expecting me to follow. "There's been a situation. Mr. Dante wants you in the safe room until it's resolved." Safe room. The word sent ice through my veins. I grabbed the diaper bag with shaking hands and followed Marcus down the hallway. Emma clutched against my chest. We descended a back staircase I hadn't known existed, the sounds of argument growing louder. "Don't care what you promised her. This is business." An unfamiliar voice, sharp with authority. "She's under my protection. That's final." Dante's voice, cold as death. "Your protection is making us look weak. The others are talking. They think you've gone soft over some girl." "What others think is irrelevant. What I say is law. Not if the council disagrees. Not if they decide you're compromised." Marcus hustled me past the room where the argument raged, but I caught a glimpse through the open door. Dante facing down 3 men in expensive suits, his posture radiating controlled violence. One of them was older, silver-haired, with the bearing of someone accustomed to power. The others were younger, harder, with the look of men who'd killed before. Then we were past, descending another flight of stairs into what looked like a basement but was clearly reinforced. Marcus pressed his palm against a scanner, and a heavy door swung open, revealing a room outfitted with supplies, monitors showing every angle of the house, and comfortable furniture that suggested people had waited here before. "Stay here," Marcus instructed. "Don't open the door for anyone but me or Mr. Dante. Understood?" "Marcus, what's going on?" His expression softened slightly. "Some of the family are questioning Mr. Dante's decisions. Questioning whether protecting you is worth the complications it's causing. It'll blow over. It always does. But until then, you stay here where it's safe." He left before I could ask more questions, the heavy door sealing behind him with a solid thunk that echoed finality. I was alone with Emma in a reinforced panic room, while upstairs, men argued about whether keeping us alive was worth the trouble. Emma whimpered, sensing my fear, and I forced myself to breathe slowly, to rock her gently. "It's okay, baby. We're okay. Dante won't let anything happen to us." But was that true? He was powerful, yes. But if his own organization was turning against him because of us, the monitors showed the house in grainy black and white. I found the feed from Dante's office and watched the argument unfold in silence. The silver-haired man was gesturing sharply, his face flushed with anger. The younger men flanked him, their hands resting near their jackets in a way that suggested weapons. Dante stood perfectly still, but I could see the tension in his shoulders, the coiled violence in his posture. Then the silver-haired man said something, and Dante moved. It happened so fast the camera barely caught it. Dante's hand shooting out, gripping the man's throat, slamming him back against the wall. The younger men reached for their weapons, but other guards appeared from nowhere, guns drawn, and suddenly the office was a standoff. Dante spoke directly into the man's face, his lips moving with deliberate precision, and even without sound, I could see the fear that flickered in the older man's eyes. This was Dante's true face, not the gentle man who held Emma, not the protector who'd offered me safety, but the predator who ruled through fear and absolute authority. He released the man, who slumped against the wall, gasping. Dante straightened his suit jacket, said something else, and gestured toward the door. The 3 men left quickly, followed by most of the guards. Dante stood alone in his office, his hands braced on his desk, his head bowed. Then he looked up directly at the camera, directly at me, though he couldn't possibly know I was watching, and the exhaustion in his expression made my chest ache. The monitor for the basement stairs flickered. Someone was coming down. My heart hammered. Marcus said not to open the door for anyone but him or Dante. But what if those men had overpowered them? What if... "Lily," Dante's voice through the door, tired and rough. "It's me. Let me in." I shifted Emma to one arm and pressed the release. The door swung open, and Dante stood there, still in his suit but disheveled now, a button torn from his shirt, blood on his knuckles. His eyes found mine immediately, scanning me and Emma with desperate intensity. "Are you hurt?" he demanded. "No, we're fine. Are you..." I gestured to his hands, "Not my blood." He stepped inside, and the door sealed behind him. "I'm sorry you had to hear that. Sorry you had to be brought down here." Who were those men? Council members, part of the organization's leadership. He moved to the monitors, checking each feed with professional efficiency. They think I'm making decisions based on emotion rather than business. They're not entirely wrong. This is about me. It wasn't a question. This is about power. He turned to face me, and the intensity in his gaze made me take a step back. About men who think they can question my authority. About a system that sees people like you and Emma as acceptable losses in pursuit of money. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should leave. No. He crossed the distance between us in 2 strides, and suddenly he was right there, close enough that I could smell the whiskey on his breath, the expensive cologne mixed with sweat and violence. "You're not leaving. You're not going anywhere. I can't protect you." "Dante," If keeping us here is causing problems with your organization, then I'll burn the whole organization to the ground." His voice was quiet, absolute. "I've spent 15 years building this empire, Lily. 15 years becoming powerful enough that no one can touch the people I care about. And I will not." His hand lifted, cupping my face with surprising gentleness despite the blood on his knuckles. "I will not let anyone hurt you, not the council, not Travis's creditors, not anyone." "Why?" The word came out broken. "Why do you care so much?" "Because when I was 8 years old, I watched my sister die because no one powerful enough cared to save her." His thumb traced my cheekbone, and I saw the pain in his eyes, raw and ancient, because I swore I'd never be that helpless again. Because I built all this power, accumulated all this control, so I could protect people who needed it. And then you sent me that text message, and I saw you standing in that hallway looking exhausted and desperate, and so damn beautiful in your strength, and something in me just decided. You're mine to protect. End of discussion. I'm not. You are. He leaned closer, his forehead nearly touching mine. "You've been mine since the moment I saw you. You just haven't accepted it yet." Emma gurgled between us, her small hand grasping at Dante's shirt. And he looked down at her with such tenderness that my breath caught. "And her," he continued softly. "She's mine too. Mine to protect. Mine to provide for. Mine to make sure grows up safe and loved and never knows what it's like to be abandoned. You can't just claim people. I can. I do." His eyes met mine again. "But I won't force you to stay. If you truly want to leave, if you truly think you'll be safer without me, I'll let you go. I'll even provide protection from a distance. But don't lie to yourself, Lily. You feel this too. This connection. This inevitability." He was right. And I hated that he was right. Something had shifted between us. Something beyond gratitude or fear. When he looked at me, I felt seen. When he touched Emma, I felt hope. When he promised protection, I believed him with a certainty that terrified me. "I don't know what I feel," I whispered. "Then let me show you." His hand slid from my face to the back of my neck, and heat flooded through me. "Let me prove that being mine isn't a prison, that it's freedom, safety, everything you've been fighting for alone. And if Travis is found, if the debt is settled, then you'll still be mine." His voice dropped lower, intimate. "Because this stopped being about Travis the moment I saw you. This became about us, about what I want. And I want you, Lily, you and Emma, in my home, under my protection, in my life, permanently." It should have sounded possessive and controlling. It should have sent me running, but instead, heat pooled low in my stomach, and my pulse raced with something that wasn't fear. "I need time," I managed. "Take all the time you need." He stepped back slightly, though his hand remained on my neck, his thumb stroking the sensitive skin there. "But take it here, where you're safe, where Emma's safe, where I can see you every day and know that you're all right. The council is my problem, not yours." Steel entered his voice. "I've handled challenges to my authority before. This is no different. They'll fall in line, or they'll be removed. That's how this works. You'd go to war with your own organization for us?" Without hesitation. He finally released me, and I felt the loss of his warmth immediately. "Now, the house is secure. Those men won't be back. But I want you to stay down here for another hour, just to be safe. Teresa will bring lunch. And tonight," his eyes held mine with promise, "we'll have dinner together. Just us. And you can ask me anything you want. About my life. My business. Why I'm doing this. Everything." "Okay," I heard myself say. He smiled then. A real smile that transformed his face from dangerous to devastating. "Okay." He brushed his knuckles against Emma's cheek, so gentle despite the blood still staining them. "Take care of your mama, Piccola. She's more precious than she knows." Then he was gone, leaving me alone in the safe room with my daughter, and a heart that was racing for entirely different reasons than fear. I looked at Emma, who watched me with her wide, innocent eyes. "What are we doing?" I whispered. "What am I letting happen?" But I knew. I was falling. falling for a dangerous man who'd shown me more care in a week than Emma's father had in 2 years. Falling for the way he looked at my daughter like she was precious, falling for the promise of safety I'd been chasing alone for so long. Falling into a cage that was starting to feel less like prison and more like home. That evening, I dressed carefully in the nicest clothes I'd brought, a simple black dress I'd worn to job interviews, hoping it would be appropriate for dinner with a Mafia boss. Teresa had offered to watch Emma, assuring me the nursery monitors would alert her to any sound, and after some hesitation, I'd agreed. Now I stood outside the dining room, my heart hammering, wondering what I was walking into. Dante stood by the window, backlit by the Chicago skyline, wearing dark slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. He'd showered and changed, the blood and violence of the afternoon erased, but the intensity in his eyes remained. "You look beautiful," he said simply. No man had called me beautiful in so long. I'd forgotten what it felt like, that flutter of warmth, that dangerous pleasure. "Thank you." I moved to the table, where 2 places were set with what was probably priceless china and crystal. "This is a lot. You deserve a lot." He pulled out my chair with old-world courtesy, and I sat, hyper-aware of his nearness as he pushed it in. I thought we could use a proper meal, without threats or arguments or hiding in safe rooms. He sat across from me, and Teresa appeared with the first course. Something delicate and artistic that I couldn't identify but tasted like heaven. Wine was poured, expensive, I was sure, and Dante raised his glass. "To new beginnings," he said. I clinked my glass against his, the crystal ringing soft and pure. "To survival." His lips curved. "I'll take it." We ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes, but I felt his eyes on me constantly, studying me like I was a puzzle he was trying to solve. "You said I could ask anything," I finally said. "I did. Your sister. What happened to her?" Pain flickered across his face, but he didn't look away. "Her name was Isabella. She was 6 when she died. I was 8. He took a drink of wine, his jaw tightening. "My father owed money to the wrong people. They came to collect. Used her as leverage, and when he couldn't pay, he didn't finish. He didn't need to. I'm so sorry. I swore that day I'd never be powerless again, that I'd become strong enough, powerful enough, that no one could touch the people I cared about." His eyes met mine. "It's why I do what I do, why I built this empire. Power isn't about money or control. It's about protection. About making sure what happened to Isabella never happens to anyone else I care about." "Is that why you helped me? Because I reminded you of her?" "No." He leaned forward, intense. "Emma reminded me of her, but you reminded me of my mother, strong, fighting impossible odds, trying to keep your child safe despite everything working against you. I watched my mother break under that pressure. I won't watch you do the same." The vulnerability in his words cracked something open inside me. "I'm not as strong as you think. You're stronger." He reached across the table, his hand covering mine. "You're surviving impossible circumstances, providing for Emma alone, fighting every day. That's real strength, Lily. Not the kind that comes from violence or power, but the kind that comes from refusing to give up even when everything says you should." Tears burned my eyes. I wanted to give up, so many times. When Travis left, when the bills piled up, when I couldn't afford formula and had to water it down, I wanted to just stop fighting. But you didn't. His thumb stroked across my knuckles. "You kept going. For her, that's love, Lily. The kind of love that builds futures. The kind I never had but always wanted to protect. And now? What happens now? Now you let me help carry the weight." His grip tightened slightly. "You let me provide the safety and security you've been fighting for alone. You let me be what Travis should have been. What any man worth a damn would be for you and Emma." "I'm not looking for a man. I know. You're looking for survival. But I'm offering more than that. I'm offering partnership, protection. A life where you don't have to choose between feeding your daughter and paying rent. Where you can breathe without panic. Where Emma can grow up safe. And what do you get?" His eyes darkened. "You. In my home. In my life. Knowing you're safe. knowing Emma's safe, knowing that I'm doing what I swore to do all those years ago, protecting someone who needs it, that's all? No. Honesty rang in his voice. I want more. I want to come home and see you. I want to hear Emma laugh. I want to fall asleep knowing you're down the hall, safe and protected. He paused, searching for words. I want to build something good, something that isn't about violence or power or control. Something real. With me. I said it flatly, testing it. With you. No hesitation. If you'll let me. The weight of his offer settled over me. This wasn't just protection anymore. This was something bigger, something that terrified and tempted me in equal measure. I don't love you, I said quietly. I barely know you. I know. He didn't seem bothered. But you could, given time, given the chance to see that I'm more than the monster people think I am. That with you and Emma, I could be better. And if I can't, if I never feel that way, pain flickered in his eyes, but his voice remained steady, then I'll still protect you, still provide for Emma, still keep you safe, because that's what you do for people you care about. You don't demand love in return for basic decency. God help me, I believed him. Okay, I whispered. His eyes flashed. Okay. We'll stay. For now. We'll see what happens. But I need you to understand something, Dante. I pulled my hand from his, needing the distance. I won't be owned. I won't be controlled. If this is going to work, I need to feel like a person, not a possession. You'll never be a possession. He leaned back, respecting the space I'd created, but you will be mine. There's a difference. Possessions are things. You're a person I'm choosing to protect, to care for, He paused. To build something with. And that requires your consent, your participation, your willingness. I'm not interested in forcing you into anything. Even though you could. Especially because I could. His voice dropped. Power means nothing if it's used to hurt the people you claim to care about. I want you to choose this. Choose me. Choose us. And I'm patient enough to wait until you do. The waiter, I hadn't noticed him arrive, cleared our plates and brought dessert, but I barely tasted it. My mind spun with possibilities and dangers, with the feeling that I was standing at a precipice about to jump. After dinner, Dante walked me back to the nursery. Emma was sleeping peacefully, her small chest rising and falling in the soft glow of the nightlight. Dante stood in the doorway, watching her with that same tender expression that made my heart ache. She's perfect, he murmured. She is. He turned to me, and in the dim light, he looked younger, more vulnerable. Thank you, Lily, for trusting me, for staying, for giving me the chance to prove I can be worthy of that trust. Don't make me regret it. I won't. He lifted his hand, hesitated, then gently tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. Sleep well. Both of you. You're safe here. Always. Then he was gone, and I was left standing in the nursery, my skin tingling where he'd touched me, my mind racing with everything that had changed. I'd come here a desperate single mother with nothing to lose. Now I was something else entirely. Protected, provided for, and dangerously close to falling for the man who'd made it all possible. The cage wasn't locked, but I was starting to wonder if I even wanted to leave. 2 weeks passed, and the world outside Dante's walls ceased to exist. I stopped counting days, stopped checking my phone for messages from a life I no longer lived. The shabby apartment, the exhausting restaurant shifts, the constant terror of not having enough, it all faded like a bad dream I was finally waking from. Emma flourished, her cheeks growing round and pink, her laughter filling rooms that had probably never heard a child's joy. And Dante? Dante was everywhere, not physically. His business kept him occupied, mysterious meetings in his office, phone calls in Italian that I wasn't meant to understand, late nights when he didn't return until dawn. But his presence saturated everything. The way the staff moved around me with careful respect, the security detail that followed whenever I ventured to the gardens with Emma, the gifts that appeared without explanation, new clothes in exactly my size, books I'd mentioned wanting to read, a high-end breast pump after Teresa mentioned I'd been struggling. He was claiming me inch by inch, and the terrifying part was how much I was letting him. It started with small things. Dinners together when his schedule allowed. Conversations that stretched past midnight about everything and nothing. His childhood in Naples. My dreams of finishing college someday. The future we were both too afraid to name directly. The way his hand would brush mine when passing Emma between us. How he'd appear in the nursery doorway at 3 a.m. when Emma cried, just to make sure we were all right. The way he looked at me like I was something precious he was afraid of breaking. But it was the morning of the 16th day that everything shifted. I woke to silence, the kind that feels wrong, heavy with absence. Emma wasn't crying. The house was too quiet. Panic spiked through me and I bolted from bed, rushing to the nursery. Empty. The crib was empty, blankets smooth. Emma gone. My heart stopped. Blood roared in my ears. Every nightmare I'd ever had about losing her crashed over me in a wave of pure terror. I spun toward the door, a scream building in my throat. She's with me. Dante stood in the hallway, Emma cradled against his bare chest, wearing only pajama pants, his hair disheveled from sleep. Relief hit me so hard my knees buckled, and he was there immediately, his free arm wrapping around my waist, holding me up. Breathe, Lily. She's fine. She woke up fussy, and I heard her on the monitor. Didn't want her to wake you. I clung to him, my fingers digging into his warm skin, my whole body shaking. I thought I couldn't find her. I know. I'm sorry. I should have left a note. His lips pressed against my hair, and I felt his heartbeat. Steady, calm, grounding. You're exhausted. You needed sleep. I've got her. Emma gurgled happily, completely content in his arms, and the sight of them together, this dangerous man holding my tiny daughter with such gentle certainty, broke something open inside me. Or maybe it healed something. I couldn't tell anymore where the fear ended and the hope began. Come on, Dante murmured. Sun's barely up. Let's get her fed, and then you're going back to bed. He led me downstairs to the kitchen, moving through his home with easy familiarity while I followed in my oversized t-shirt and bare feet, still shaky from the adrenaline crash. The kitchen was warm and bright, morning light streaming through windows that overlooked the frost-covered gardens. Dante settled into a chair, adjusting Emma in his arms while I prepared her bottle with hands that gradually stopped trembling. Here, I said, holding it out. You feed her. His voice was soft. I'll just hold her. You both look comfortable. So I sat beside him, and he angled Emma in his arms so I could feed her while he supported her weight. It was intimate. The three of us connected, our bodies close, the morning quiet broken only by Emma's satisfied sounds and the ticking of an antique clock somewhere in the house. This is dangerous, I whispered. What is? This. Us, getting used to this. I watched Emma's eyes drift closed, milk-drunk and peaceful. When this ends, when Travis is found, or the debt is settled, or whatever resolution comes, this will end. And I don't know how to go back to struggling alone after living like this. Dante's hand found my hair, fingers threading through it gently. Who says it has to end? You can't keep us here forever. That's not... This isn't real life. It's my life. His voice was quiet but firm, and I want it to be yours too, permanently. I looked up at him, and the intensity in his eyes stole my breath. Dante, I know what you're going to say, that it's too fast, that you barely know me, that this started as protection and shouldn't become something more. His thumb traced my cheekbone, but I don't care about any of that. I want you to stay, both of you, not as guests, not as people under protection, but as family. Family. The word caught in my throat. Emma needs a father, a real one, not some coward who ran away, and you need... He paused, searching for words. You need someone who sees how strong you are and doesn't run from it. Someone who wants to build something with you, not tear you down. I can be that. I want to be that. You're a mafia boss. I said it flatly, needing him to understand the insanity of what he was suggesting. Your life is violence and danger and secrets. That's not a life for a child. My life is whatever I make it. Steel entered his voice. Yes, I run an organization. Yes, my business involves things most people don't want to know about. But I also have the power to build walls around the people I care about. To create a safe space where Emma can grow up protected, educated, given every opportunity, where you can finish your degree if you want. where neither of you ever has to worry about money or safety or whether you'll have enough to survive. In exchange for what? What do you want from me? His eyes held mine, unflinching. Everything. Your trust, your presence, your willingness to build a life here. And eventually, if I'm patient enough and worthy enough, your heart. My breath caught. You want me to fall in love with you. I want you to let yourself fall in love with me. His hand cupped my face. I see the way you look at me sometimes, Lily. When you think I'm not watching, I see the interest, the attraction, the possibility. And I want you to stop fighting it because you think this is temporary or wrong or too dangerous. I want you to let it happen. And if I can't? If I try and it's just not there? Pain flickered across his face, but he didn't look away. Then I'll have to accept that, but you'll still be welcome here. Emma will still have everything she needs. I don't do this with conditions. I'm not Travis. I don't abandon people when they don't give me what I want. Emma had fallen asleep in his arms, her small body completely relaxed, trusting. The sight of her there, safe and content with this dangerous man who looked at her like she was the most precious thing in the world, it undid me. I'm scared, I whispered. I know. Not of you. Of this. Of wanting it so badly that I ignore all the red flags. What red flags? His thumb stroked my cheek. That I'm powerful? That I can protect you? That I'm willing to burn down my entire organization to keep you safe? Those aren't red flags, Lily. Those are promises. You kill people. I needed to say it. Needed him to acknowledge what he was. Yes. No hesitation. No shame. I do what's necessary to maintain order, to protect my interests, to ensure people who would hurt innocents don't get the chance. I'm not a good man by conventional standards, but I'm good to the people I care about, and I care about you, both of you. How can you be so sure? You barely know me. I know enough. His voice dropped lower, intimate. I know you're strong enough to survive impossible circumstances. I know you love your daughter more than anything. I know you're smart, resourceful, and too damn stubborn to give up even when everything says you should. I know that when you smile, really smile, not that polite thing you do for the staff, it makes my chest ache. I know that seeing you with Emma makes me want things I thought died with Isabella. Family, home, something beyond power and control. Tears burned my eyes. This is insane. Yes. He leaned closer, his forehead almost touching mine, but so is sending a wrong number text and having a stranger show up with baby formula. So is living here for 2 weeks without asking when you can leave. So is looking at me the way you're looking at me right now, like you want to believe every word I'm saying. I do want to believe you, I breathed. That's what terrifies me. Then believe me. His lips brushed my forehead, gentle despite the violence I knew those hands were capable of. Believe that I'll protect you, provide for you, build a life where Emma can grow up safe and loved. Believe that what I feel for you is real, even if it happened fast. Believe that you deserve this, deserve safety, security, someone who sees your worth. Emma stirred, making small sounds, and Dante adjusted her carefully, his large hands cradling her with practiced ease. The domesticity of it, this powerful, dangerous man holding my sleeping daughter in his kitchen at dawn, was almost too much to process. I need time, I said finally, to think, to process, to figure out if what I'm feeling is real or just gratitude, desperation, Stockholm Syndrome. His lips curved slightly. You're not my prisoner, aren't I? Can I really leave if I want to? Yes. The answer was immediate, absolute. I'll provide security from a distance. Make sure you and Emma are protected. But if you truly want to go, truly believe you'll be happier without me, I won't stop you. His jaw tightened. It'll destroy me, but I won't stop you. The vulnerability in his words cracked my remaining defenses. I don't want to leave, I whispered. That's what scares me. I should want to leave, should want my independence back. But the thought of walking out that door, of taking Emma back to that shabby apartment, of struggling alone again, I shook my head. I can't do it. And I don't know if that makes me weak or smart. It makes you human. He shifted Emma carefully, then stood, still holding her. Come on, let's get her back to bed, and then you're sleeping too. No arguments. I followed him upstairs, watching the way he moved with Emma, confident, gentle, natural. In the nursery, he laid her in the crib with such care, it made my throat tight, then pulled the blanket over her small body. She sighed in her sleep, content and safe. Sleep, Lily, he murmured, turning to me. I've got meetings today, but I'll be back for dinner. We'll talk more then. He moved toward the door, but I caught his arm. Dante? He paused, looking back. I didn't plan what happened next, didn't think about consequences or wisdom or any of the 1,000 reasons it was a terrible idea. I just stepped forward, rose on my toes, and pressed my lips to his. He froze for half a heartbeat, shock maybe, or the fear of pushing too far. Then his arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me closer, and he kissed me back with a hunger that stole my breath. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, claiming, full of weeks of tension and want and restraint finally breaking. When we pulled apart, both breathing hard, his eyes had darkened to almost black. Lily. His voice was rough, strained. I'm not ready to say I love you, I whispered. I'm not ready to make promises about forever. But I'm ready to try. To see if this, I gestured between us, could be real. His hand cupped my face, thumb tracing my swollen lips. That's all I'm asking for. A chance. Then you have it. He kissed me again, softer this time but no less intense. And I felt it in every cell, the shift, the surrender, the terrifying leap into unknown territory. When he finally pulled away, his forehead rested against mine. Get some sleep, he murmured. And Lily? Thank you for trusting me, for giving me this chance. I won't waste it. Then he was gone, and I was left standing in the nursery, my lips tingling, my heart racing, wondering what I'd just agreed to. The next 3 weeks blurred together in a haze of domesticity I'd never expected to find with a man like Dante. He courted me, old-fashioned, almost chivalrous, despite the violence that defined his life outside these walls. Dinners where we talked for hours. Morning coffee together when his schedule allowed. Quiet evenings in the library while Emma slept. His arm around my shoulders, my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat and feeling safe for the first time in years. He was patient with my hesitations. Never pushed when I pulled back. Never demanded more than I was ready to give. But his desire was obvious in the way his eyes tracked me across rooms, in the heat of his kisses when I initiated them, in the restraint it clearly cost him to keep his promises. And slowly, terrifyingly, I fell. Not because he was powerful or wealthy or provided security, though those things mattered, but because of the way he read bedtime stories to Emma in Italian, his deep voice soft with tenderness. Because of how he remembered that I took my coffee with too much sugar and always made sure there was fresh creamer in the fridge. Because he asked about my day, my dreams, my fears, and actually listened. Because when I woke screaming from nightmares about Emma being taken, he was there within seconds, pulling me into his arms, promising that nothing would touch us while he drew breath. He became necessary, essential, home. And then, on a cold December morning, exactly 37 days after I'd sent that wrong number text, everything came crashing down. I was feeding Emma in the nursery when shouting erupted from downstairs. Different from before, more urgent. Dante's voice, sharp with command. Then gunshots, muffled but unmistakable. Terror seized me. I grabbed Emma and ran for the safe room, but Marcus intercepted me in the hallway, his face grim. Miss Lily, Mr. Dante needs you downstairs. Now. What's happening? They found Travis, and he's here. My blood turned to ice. Marcus led me down to Dante's office. Emma clutched against my chest. The door was open, and inside, I saw him, Travis, on his knees, hands zip-tied behind his back, blood streaming from his nose. 2 guards flanked him, guns drawn. And Dante stood behind his desk, every inch the ruthless crime lord I'd been trying to forget he was. His eyes found mine immediately, and something flickered in them. Concern, warning, possessive rage. "Lily," Travis said, his voice desperate. "Thank God. Tell them you and Emma need me. Tell them they can't do this. Shut up." Dante's voice cracked like a whip. He moved around the desk with predatory grace, coming to stand beside me, his hand finding the small of my back. "You don't speak to her. You don't look at her. You don't breathe in her direction. She's my girlfriend. Emma's my daughter. You can't just... She's not your girlfriend." Dante's voice dropped to something cold and deadly. "She's mine. And Emma sure as hell isn't your daughter, not in any way that matters. You abandoned them, left them struggling while you ran with stolen money. You have no rights here." Travis's eyes found me, wide with panic and something uglier. Calculation. "Lily, please, I made mistakes, but I came back. For you, for Emma. We can be a family." "No." The word came out stronger than I expected. "You don't get to come back now. You don't get to pretend you care when you left us with nothing. When you stole money and put us in danger, I did it for us." His voice rose, desperate. "That money, I was going to use it to start over, somewhere safe. I just needed time to set things up. 7 months, I said quietly. "You needed 7 months? While Emma and I were starving? While I was begging strangers for help because I couldn't afford formula?" Shame flickered across his face, but he rallied quickly. I know I screwed up. But I'm here now. I'll pay back the money. I'll make this right. Just don't let them kill me." Dante's hand tightened on my back. "The money's already been returned. With interest. That's not why you're here." Travis's face went white. "Then why?" "Because you put them in danger." Each word was precise, controlled, but the violence underneath was palpable. "Because men came looking for you and found Lily instead. Because your debts almost got Emma killed. Because you made me necessary in their lives, and now," his arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me against his side, "now you're irrelevant, a problem to be solved. You can't kill me. I'm Emma's father, biologically." Dante's voice was ice. "But I'm the one who provides for her, protects her, makes sure she has everything she needs. I'm the one who holds her at 3 a.m. when she can't sleep, who reads to her, who would burn this entire city to keep her safe. So tell me, Travis, what exactly do you contribute that makes your existence worth the risk?" Silence. Travis had no answer because there was no answer. Dante looked at me, and I saw the question in his eyes, the choice he was giving me. He'd kill Travis. I could see it in every line of his body, in the cold calculation behind his gaze, but he was asking permission, giving me the power to decide. And I realized with stunning clarity that I didn't want Travis dead. Not because I cared about him, I didn't, not anymore. But because I didn't want that on Emma's future. Didn't want her to grow up knowing her biological father had been executed, even if he deserved it. "Don't kill him," I said quietly, "but get him out of our lives, permanently." Dante studied me for a long moment, then nodded. He turned to Travis with expression carved from stone. "You're going to sign papers terminating your parental rights. You're going to disappear. I don't care where, as long as it's far from here. You're going to forget Lily and Emma exist. And if you ever come near them again, I'll make what happens next so painful you'll beg for death long before I grant it. Understood?" Travis nodded frantically, tears streaming down his face. "Good." Dante gestured to his guards. "Get him out of my sight. Make sure the papers are filed by end of day, and then make sure he's on a plane to somewhere very far away." They hauled Travis to his feet, dragging him toward the door. He looked back at me once, his face full of regret and fear and resentment, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just relief that this chapter was finally closing. When the door shut behind them, Dante turned to me, his hands framing my face. "Are you all right?" "I don't know." I shifted Emma to one arm, and Dante immediately supported her weight, his hands gentle despite everything. I thought I'd feel something, vindication or anger or satisfaction, but I just feel tired. "It's over." His thumb stroked my cheek. He's gone. He can't hurt you anymore. Can't threaten Emma. Can't disrupt the life we're building. It's over. Is it? I looked up at him. The debt's settled. Travis is gone. Your organization isn't questioning you about me anymore. So what now? What happens to us? His eyes darkened with emotion I couldn't name. Now you decide. You've seen all of me. The protection, yes, but also the violence, the control, the ruthlessness I'm capable of. You've seen what I am, Lily, so decide. Do you want this life? With me? Knowing what it means, my heart hammered. This was it. The moment of truth. The choice that would define everything. I thought about my shabby exhaustion, the fear, the loneliness of raising Emma alone. Then I thought about the past month, the safety, the support, the way Dante looked at Emma like she was his own, the way he looked at me like I was precious. I want this, I whispered. I want you, us, this life we're building, all of it. The transformation in his face was stunning, relief and joy, and something deeper, darker, more possessive. You're sure? I'm terrified, but yes, I'm sure. He kissed me then, deep and claiming, and I felt it seal between us, the promise, the commitment, the choice. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. Marry me. I blinked. What, marry me? He repeated, his voice steady despite the intensity in his eyes. Not now, not today, but soon. Let me make this official. Let me give Emma my name, my protection, everything I have. Let me be your family. Tears burned my eyes. That's insane. We've known each other barely more than a month. I don't care. I knew the moment I saw you. I've just been waiting for you to catch up. His hands cupped my face. Say yes, Lily. Say you'll marry me. Say you'll let me spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you and Emma. I looked at Emma, dozing peacefully between us, completely unaware that her future was being decided. Then I looked at Dante, this dangerous, powerful man who'd shown up when I needed help and stayed when I needed hope. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. His smile was devastating. Thank God. He kissed me again, softer this time, reverent. I'll make you happy, Lily. I swear it. You and Emma will never want for anything. Never have to be afraid. Never be alone. I believe you. And I did. Against all logic, against every warning bell, I believed him. 6 months later, the spring sun warmed the gardens where Emma took her first steps, stumbling between Dante and me with determination in her eyes and laughter bubbling from her lips. She'd grown so much, almost a year old now, healthy and happy, and utterly unaware of the chaos that had brought us here. She's got your stubbornness, Dante said. Catching Emma as she toppled forward, she shrieked with delight, demanding to try again. And your dramatic flair, I countered, watching as Emma made a show of standing, arms spread wide like she was conquering mountains. He laughed, that deep, genuine laugh I'd learned to treasure, and pulled me against his side with his free arm. The diamond on my left hand caught the sunlight. The engagement ring he'd presented 3 months ago when I'd finished signing all the papers making him Emma's legal father. We were getting married next month. Small ceremony, just a few people. Teresa, Marcus, some of Dante's trusted associates. Mrs. Chen from my old building, who'd cried when I'd visited to thank her for her kindness. Travis was gone. Last I'd heard, he was somewhere in South America, working construction and keeping his head down. The debt was settled. The threats were eliminated. The council had accepted that I wasn't going anywhere, that Emma was Dante's daughter in every way that mattered, and I was happy. Genuinely, surprisingly, completely happy. What are you thinking? Dante murmured against my hair that I sent a text to the wrong number and it changed my entire life. Best wrong number I ever got, he kissed my temple. Though I prefer to think fate knew what it was doing. You believe in fate. I believe in you. In us. In this. He gestured to Emma, to the gardens, to the home we'd built together. Everything else is just details. Emma took 3 more wobbling steps and crashed into my legs, giggling. I scooped her up, and she immediately reached for Dante, wanting his arms instead. He took her with that same gentle competence that still made my heart ache, and she snuggled against his chest, content and safe. My dangerous mafia boss, my protector, my partner, my home. I love you, I said, the words coming easier now. Both of you. His eyes met mine, dark and intense and full of promises kept and promises yet to make. We love you too, il mio cuore, always. Emma babbled something that might have been da-da, and Dante's face transformed with such joy that tears burned my eyes. This life, this unexpected, impossible, beautiful life, was ours now. All because of a wrong number and a man who'd shown up with baby formula and stayed to build a family, and I wouldn't change a single thing.